Guys, welcome back for a long overdue brew day. I thought if I'm going to get a brew done before Christmas or get one underway before Christmas, I better do it this weekend. Title, you would have seen that I'm doing a Brut IPA, which I've done a few of now. And I thought I would use these hops here, the Idaho-7, which I've never used before. So they should give me some citrus, tropical note sort of characters in the Brut, which I thought will go down nicely. And then, being a Brut, I'm using this dry enzyme, the Glucoamylase from Mangrove Jacks. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'll be pitching that with the yeast. And the yeast is going to be Yeast, just get a nice clean finish. So I'm doing the mash, as you can see, it's sort of sitting around 65 degrees Celsius. And the malt bill is around 85% Pilsner, about 10% wheat, and then a little bit of acidulated malt. So yeah, the main difference between this and the other Bruts is I normally use like an ale malt and a little bit of light crystal, but I just want this nice and clean and no sort of sweetness in it. So I thought I'd try and make it, more of a cleaner, crisper sort of Brut. And I thought the way to do that might be to, use Pilsner malt instead. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So we'll let the mash finish, and then we'll come back and do a little bit more recording. Then I'll see you at the end. Okay, so the mash is finished and we've pulled the grain bag out, as you can see. So I'm just going to do a little bit of sparging with approximately 75-ish, 76 degree water. Just to get my pre-boil volume here. So we'll carry on doing this and then I'll see you in the next stage. Okay, so we're just coming up to the start of the boil. So I'm not going to be adding any hops until the end, so we'll come back at that stage. Okay, so pretty close to the end of the boil, but before the boil finishes I just thought I'd talk about the hop additions. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be using Idaho-7. So I'm going to be putting in a couple of additions at the end of the boil. So this one will go in at flame out. So there's only 15 grams of Idaho-7, so this is going to give me my bitterness. So I'm sort of aiming for 20 IBUs or less, which apparently is in keeping with the style for a Brut, because the low finishing gravity of a Brut actually accentuates the hop bitterness. So you want to keep the actual bitterness fairly low, so that's going to be the addition to give me the bitterness. And then what I'll do is I'll drop the temperature down to 80 degrees and we'll do a hop stand with another 35 grams of Idaho-7. Just bearing in mind this is only like a third batch size, so you could pretty much triple those figures if you're doing a full batch. But I'll put some details in the video description of the recipe. And then the other key thing with the Brut, of course, is the dry enzyme, which I mentioned before. So this gets pitched with the yeast, and what this does is it breaks down any of the longer chain sugars which are normally not fermented, and this will give the beer a nice low finishing gravity, a nice dryness of around hopefully 1,000 or even maybe slightly under. So yeah, we'll pitch that with the yeast. Okay, so we've reached the end of the boil, so we'll turn the power off and we're going to add in our flame out addition, the 15 grams of Idaho-7, and we'll get that temperature down to 80 degrees. He's doing a little bit of a whirlpool, so I'll be back shortly for the next addition. Okay, so I've finished the whirlpool. Got that temperature down to just under 80 degrees Celsius, so we're going to add in 35 grams of Idaho-7 and we'll let that do a hop stand for 15 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay, so the 15-minute hop stand's finished, so we're just going to transfer the wort into the fermenter. Now I don't have a chiller, so I'm just going to have to transfer it at whatever temperature it is and then cool it down in the fridge. But also the urn doesn't have a bazooka or anything fitted, so I'm just going to pass it through the hop spider here and try and remove as much hop matter etc as we can. So yeah, we'll do that transfer and we'll see you at the next step. Just thought I'd show you the inside of the hop spider. You can see it's collecting the hop debris on the inside and the liquid's just running through the screen there, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so brew day is done and dusted. I've pitched the US-05 along with the dry enzymes. I've just added them together at the same time. So we'll let them do their thing. I'm going to ferment at 18 degrees, and then once we're sort of halfway through fermentation, I'll do the dry hops. So I've got 50 grams of Idaho-7 left to add. But anyway, here's the hydro sample. So it came out at 1050, so a couple of points higher than I was expecting. So if we get down to that 1000, it's going to end up around 6.5%. But sort of nice colour there, nice and light, which is what I was looking for. So we'll just taste the sample and just do a quick check on the old bitterness there. So like I said earlier, it's only meant to be around 20 IBUs, and yeah, it's quite light bitterness, which was what I was looking for. So yeah, that's everything about today's brew day. Looking forward to the end result. Hopefully we get some better weather to enjoy it. You might be able to hear the rain out in the back there. If you've got any questions, just sing out. I'll put the recipe below in the video description. Also, as I mentioned before, this is my first time using Idaho-7. Let me know what you guys think of the hop, if you've used it and if you enjoyed it and whether you'd use it again. Be interested to hear your thoughts. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned and we'll definitely do a tasting video in about 2 weeks time. Over and out. Cheers.